We would like to welcome you to this webinar, which is part of the ongoing series of professional development webinars conducted by the ITEEA. This webinar describes an initiative that has the potential to be transformative in the way teaching and learning in technology and engineering education is conceived. It is a grandiose claim, but one that we hope you will resonate with once we conclude this presentation. My name is Michael Hacker. I taught secondary school technology education for 20 years, served as a state supervisor for Tech Ed in New York, and for the past 2 decades have co-directed the Center for STEM Research at Hofstra University on Long Island. I will present a brief overview of EfA, then we will watch a 10-minute introductory video. Following that video, 2 expert middle school technology and engineering teachers will discuss their classroom implementation. Matt McGuire teaches in Elwood, New York, and Matthew Plummer teaches in Davidsville, Pennsylvania. The EfA project has been funded by the National Science Foundation. EfA stands for Engineering for All. The project developed 2 6-week curriculum units that are situated in authentic societal contexts. One is in a food context, titled Vertical Farming, Fresh Food for Cities, and one is in a water context, titled Water, the World in Crisis. Student and teacher guides were developed for both units, and the units have become part of ITEEA's flagship Engineering by Design curriculum. Embedded and performance-based assessments are included within the materials, and research was conducted about the feasibility of implementation in technology and engineering middle school classrooms and about the pedagogical content knowledge teachers need to teach design. EfA materials were tested for feasibility in 22 middle school technology and engineering classrooms across the country with 755 students and revised based upon teacher, student, advisory board, and evaluator feedback. Our project's vision is to promote the potential of engineering as a social good, in addition to being a career path. To open students' eyes to the role engineers play in addressing important global and community-based issues and problems, and to instill in our students a predisposition to want to make a real difference in the world, and a sense of confidence that with continued study they will be able to do so. Pedagogically, we're asking our students to solve design challenges in contexts like food and water that relate to problems facing many people in our country and throughout the world. The project is also unique in that we've identified and are revisiting a set of overarching technology and engineering themes in both contexts. These overarching themes are repeatedly referenced in the literature, and they contain ideas about design, modeling, systems, resources, and human values. Finally, we are using informed design methodology as the core pedagogy. Informed design is a pedagogical approach that engages students in the development of knowledge and skills relevant to the design challenge before they begin designing. It's not dissimilar to accepted design methods. However, EfA students create design solutions informed by the new knowledge and skills they learn, rather than through trial and error gadgeteering. Knowledge and skills are learned just in time through pre-designed tasks called Knowledge and Skill Builders, or KSBs. The KSBs provide hands-on, inquiry-based learning about STEM concepts that underpin the design challenge that is presented. The curriculum structure is the same as other ITEEA Engineering by Design units. Both EfA units begin with a component called the first 4 days. which is designed to accomplish 3 learning goals: to position design activities as central, and to introduce the informed design process to our kids. The first 4 days also serves to introduce students to the use of knowledge and skill builders as a means to inform their base of relevant knowledge before they engage in the design challenge. And it serves to measure students' prior knowledge about the unit's material through the use of a pretest. The second component comprises the knowledge and skill builders. Matt and Matthew will give examples of these in context. And the third component is the Grand Design Challenge. Both units conclude with students engaging in a capstone design activity that requires them to apply the knowledge they gained through these KSBs. Now let's look at a video of our students in Oregon and North Carolina as they move through their first EfA experience.
Some of the greatest challenges we face as a global society relate to lack of availability of fresh food and clean water. Today, 2 billion people lack adequate access to clean water. It's one of the greatest political, social, and health challenges of the 21st century. Although water is abundant on Earth, less than 1% of the planet's water is fresh water in lakes and rivers, and that water may not be clean, and it may be far from the cities and homes where it is needed most.
Worldwide, about 784 million people don't have access to what we call an improved water source. So an improved water source would be something with a little bit of engineering around it. In addition, about 1.2 billion people who use improved sources have contamination in them. So in total, it's about 2 billion worldwide that don't have access to microbiologically safe drinking water. So I work in places to try and work with households to either get access to a safer water supply or treat their water at the household level.
Through the National Science Foundation-funded Engineering for All project led by Hofstra University, in collaboration with the International Technology and Engineering Educators Association, students in Carolyn Banks's classroom at Spring Hill Middle School in North Carolina are learning how engineers like Danielle help bring clean, safe water to a thirsty world.
When these kids leave school, they're going to have to solve the problems that we didn't solve: food scarcity, water scarcity. Engineering for All engages kids in understanding really global problems, real-world problems, and learning the skills that they need to define a problem that they can solve.
Does this system have an output?
And develop the skills to solve that problem.
It would be what?
Clean water.
It's been awesome, especially with this class, because they're excited about learning, and if they're motivated and they have hands-on, something they can touch, feel, manipulate, they enjoy it more. We also make it relevant to the real world, like this project. They really buy into it.
It just seemed different than all the other classes because we get to do experiments in this class and we get to learn different things than what we would normally learn in math class or science class.
You actually get to do stuff hands-on, and I think you learn a lot more, because I know I learn a lot more if I get to touch stuff and see stuff.
Water scarcity is a global problem, and Carolyn Banks' students have chosen Bangladesh as a case study.
The final grand challenge is when they actually use the materials that are native to Bangladesh, and they make a water filtering system that the natives or the residents can use to filter their water.
We're trying to make a portable and convenient filtration system for Bangladesh, because that's part of our project, is to make a filtration system for Bangladesh because they don't have any clean water.
So filters work in a number of different ways. The first way they work is just the way a strainer would work. Like if you put your macaroni in a strainer, the biggest particles are going to get captured right at the top, and they're going to stick there and they're going to make a layer. And then as you then go further down into the filter, the smaller particles might get trapped in the pore sizes.
Each one we're going to put something different, like charcoal, fine sand, and coarse sand. And then we're going to put the water through it and see how it filters the parasites out.
You need different types of filter material to filter out physical and chemical contamination, so the biological contamination and the chemical contamination.
We're trying to purify water that has metal in it, like lead, stuff like that. And we're trying to keep it from getting into people's body systems so they won't get sick.
They really have gotten it, that this is for real. You know, this is not something my teacher's making up. I'm really taking part in a project that's going to affect somebody's life.
You learn how to help people in this class. Like, you learn how to make water filters for different people who don't have water when we're so careless for our water.
Engineering for all students are also taking on a second critical issue, food scarcity. Today, 1 in 8 people do not have the food they need to thrive. As the world's population rises, the problem is only getting worse. Meanwhile, the amount of land that's suitable for growing food keeps getting smaller. Cutting forests to make room for more farms could devastate rare natural habitats and make global warming worse.
These two problems are closely related. In order to grow food on a farm, it takes a lot of water because water flows through and out.
When we think about a child's health, we're not just thinking about water, we're also thinking about food.
One solution, vertical farming using hydroponics, growing crops in water without soil.
The water comes from this tank, which if you open up, there's just a whole bunch of water.
In hydroponics, it's much more conservative with the water because the water keeps circulating.
Hydroponic beds can be built vertically onto the sides of tall buildings, so there's no need for farmland. And food can be grown right where it's needed.
How to get the water in and out so the plants can have water.
In Stephen Hayner's class at Claggett Creek Middle School in Oregon, students participating in Engineering for All are discovering how vertical farming can help feed the world.
This one actually brought a real-world problem and gave the kids an opportunity to try to solve a real-world problem. And I thought that was really interesting for them to move into. When it comes to urban farming, most of the kids learn that there's just not much space available in big cities. And so in order to have farm and grow plants in there, you got to think about new methods of growing.
They'll have like a drain or something. I think it's definitely getting a lot harder to feed the more people on the planet because the population is definitely growing and it's just going to continue to grow. And with the hydroponic systems, I feel like you'd have a wider variety of food that you can plant yourself at home. So you will just have like a better like eating supplies. Plus it's more food and it's like faster and more efficient.
And what is the size of the cups? Around 2 inches?
To learn how hydroponics works, students are building their own hydroponic systems. Teams start by drilling holes for the cups that will hold their crops.
Check the measurements, 29.
They prep the tubing that will keep the plants watered. Another team is building the structure that will hold the finished growing tray.
1, 2, 3. Sorry, you put that on and I'll put the
They
lid on.
put it all together and then they are ready for the grand challenge, designing a vertical farming solution from scratch, using an informed design process to apply math and science to the technical and engineering problem at hand.
All the water just kind of goes all the way through the piping.
They were given some type of question that they had to solve. They'd come up with ideas and design prototypes. After they design a prototype, then they would go ahead and analyze their prototype and look at some data, make changes to their prototype, and in the end see if it actually worked.
Our design, it rotates like a Ferris wheel right here. And then it holds removable plant boxes. It dips into the water. It's on the north side for the maximum sunlight, and it's an ebb flow system. This is the greenhouse, so after that's where we do our harvesting. And this is what we use to take the plants on and off the side of the building so we can plant them and harvest them and re-put new plants on. The food is sold to the residents at this fruit stand, and residents now have access to fresh local fruits and vegetables.
This really opened up their eyes just to the idea that there's more opportunities in engineering. I always tell them that if they find something they like, there's an engineering career for it. And so they learned about agricultural engineers, which is something completely new to them. They didn't know that there was a field out there like that.
In conclusion,
we support Engineering for All due to the opportunity it provides our kids here at Claggett Creek. This specifically allows us to work collaboratively to identify local issues, problem solve those issues, and identify real-world solutions.
By using these ideas along with engineering and science to solve problems, kids learn the ideas much more deeply. And furthermore, they really develop a mindset that they can solve problems, that they can even address some of the world's biggest problems, and they can have success.
Engineering is problem solving. It's not kind of core research like what's some of the physics, like how's the universe built or all of that. But it's more about we need something and we'd like to get there, so how do we do that? And I think it's really nice with engineering when you see the tangible results.
Once the plants started to grow, we didn't want the light to burn them. So we have this nail up here and a rope. So what we do is we can lift it and we can tie it back on. I didn't know much about hydroponics until we did this, and it really opened up my eyes on how we need to do other stuff to help other people, because you don't really think about it.
This is what we did, this is what we came up with, this is what kids our age are thinking of, we can actually do this. It was just a proud moment. We were just very excited of our idea.
I'll do this one.
Students in Engineering for All classes are designing solutions to important community and global issues.
Right there, yeah.
Through their engineering design activities and continued study, these students will be prepared to make a real difference in the world.
All right, it looks good.